Welcome back, True Seeker. In the news, Joe Madison, known as the Black Eagle, who had the biggest show on Urban View, which is a Sirius XM channel. It's kind of like the BET of Sirius XM. All of the hosts are black. And again, the biggest show on that program, the flagship show, the Joe Madison Show. And once upon a time, a decade ago, I was calling the Urban View hosts and I was able to get through to a number of shows and they let me come on and I taught about the significance of Gematria and the numbers 59 and 42. And the host seemed intrigued every time I talked to him. I never heard him follow up. But the one show I could not get on, their screener would never take me, was Joe Madison. I could not get on the Joe Madison show, which was disappointing because that's the show that everybody listened to. It was live in the morning. They replayed it multiple times during the day. But the Joe Madison screener would never let me on to talk about the topic. And I want to talk about what's now ironic about his death being announced in Black History Month and at the age of 74. And also, for all the people out there that listen to Joe Madison, you hear the Urban View host right now. They're saying, who's going to fill the shoes of Joe Madison? And honestly, I'm here to propose myself. Urban View has never had a white host, but I think they should bring me on and let me take over the flagship program. And I think the listeners would approve once they heard what we had to offer from our program and our community. And the thing is, Joe Madison, Joe Madison, what's he doing? He's pandering mainstream narratives that people need to be out voting. Why? Why do people need to be voting for federal elections when they're all rigged? Imagine if we were on Urban View spelling out why the election's rigged for Trump. I remember when Joe Madison was saying that Donald Trump was a joke and he was going to drop out any day and this won't last another week. And again, what we were showing back then is what they were encoding in the news and why it looked like Donald Trump was going to be the next predetermined rigged candidate for the White House, which was correct. Joe Madison, he tries to be an anti-establishment candidate, but then he tells all of his audience to do exactly what the establishment wants. Keep voting in rigged selections. Keep believing in a fake system that's totally bought and paid for. And again, we can prove that all day. And I'm going to show you what really happened to Joe Madison and why his death's announced during the time of Black History Month and why he died on what would have been Jackie Robinson's 105th birthday. This was the same thing I communicated to other hosts on Urban View that Joe Madison wouldn't listen to. Now he's the victim of what I was educating about. By the way, shout out to RPM Trey. He sent me a few shirts in the mail. And again, we just had RPM on the other day. Definitely support RPM Trey. But back to the topic. Joe Madison, dead at 74 on Jackie Robinson's birthday. If you're new here, Gematria is the Kabbalistic practice of coding numbers into words. And when you learn this code, you can see through so many rituals, which include murder, ritualistically. And there's a song out there called Gematria, the Killing Name. And there's another song out there called Murder by Numbers, where killing's as simple as ABC is 1, 2, 3. And let's begin with that ABC 1, 2, 3 and look at why it matters that Joe Madison, who became the youngest leader of the NAACP in Detroit on the 42nd parallel back when he was 24 years old, let's look at why it matters that he's died on this day, Jackie Robinson's birthday, what would have been his 105th. In Gematria, Joe Madison equates to 105. And again, this is ABC is 1, 2, 3. J is the 10th letter of the alphabet. O is the 15th. E is the 5th. You add it up, Joe's 30. Then you take the letters of Madison. M's the 13th letter. A is the 1st. D is the 4th, so on. You add up Madison. Madison adds up to 75. Joe 30. Madison 75. You add it together, that's 105. And now this man dead on the 105th birthday anniversary of Jackie Robinson, who wore 42. And of course, Detroit on the 42nd parallel. Remember what age Jackie Robinson's son was killed at? Supposedly in a car crash, age 24. Joe Madison became the youngest NAACP leader at age 24 up in Detroit. And now when's he dead? Right at the start of 2024. It wasn't that long ago he announced he was stepping away to battle prostate cancer, and not long after that announcement, he's gone. Now, just like I taught the Urban View hosts a decade ago, there's two important ways to learn to decode. Back then, I only knew these two methods, the alphabetic order and the alphabetic order with numerology. And when you apply numerology, Joe Madison equals 42 instead. The difference here is J, the 10th letter, and numerology, 10 is 1 plus 0 is 1. So J becomes worth 1 instead of 10. 10, again, J is the 10th letter. The numerology of 10 is 1 plus 0 is 1. O, the 15th letter, then becomes 1 plus 5 is 6. So O is 6 instead of 15. E is already a single digit number, so E is 5. M, the 13th letter, becomes 1 plus 3 is 4. You just make each letter a single digit number. Joe Madison, 42. So now think about this. Joe Madison, dead on the 105th birthday of Jackie Robinson, who wore 42. You think that's an accident? Every year, this stuff is going on for Black History Month. And again, he died the day before it began, but the news didn't break until Black History Month was underway. And we all know what they did with the Rocky actor. We all know how they shamed Hootie and the Blowfish. And there will be more stories like this in the month. And this is the exact type of thing I called into the Urban View hosts about. Now let's continue with the ritual of Joe Madison's death. And again, let's continue to think about why this should be on Urban View, this knowledge. Because this knowledge is being used every day to ritually shame and murder Black people. And it goes beyond that, too. It's not just used against Black people, but you follow my work, you see that Black people really do get the brunt of it at a very disproportionate rate. So let's continue. Black Eagle, as they call him. 59, right? Just like how in the same cipher, slave is 59, Negro's 59, Rasta's 59, Blues is 59. Black History Month typically ends on the 59th day of the year. And again, who set up this awkward calendar that makes it so February typically ends on the 59th day of the year? Again, the Catholic Church. More specifically, it was a Jesuit priest. And what did Lincoln say during the Civil War? Who did he say were the biggest promoters of slavery in America? He said it was the Jesuits. He also said they were responsible for the Civil War. And let's not forget the word slavery equals 102, like the American Civil War began on the 102nd day of the year. It also goes with why the U.S. federal government recognized Black History Month on 10/2, and they did it in the year 76. If you're new here, if you run the alphabetic order in reverse, Z is 1 back to A is 26, Blues, Rasta, Negro, Slave, they all equal 76. Like Acts 7, about 400 years of slavery. Of course, Ephesians 6, it's the verses 5 through 9 that are the most infamous verses in the Bible about slavery. Supposedly, God condones slavery in Ephesians 6, 5 through 9. But just think about it. Black Eagle, his death announced in Black History Month. This month, so connected to 59. He's from Detroit. What year did Motown come out? Motown came out in 59. You know? I mean, could it be any more obvious? This is exactly what I was calling into Urban View about a decade ago. 42 and 59 in Black history. And now the flagship, program, Joe Madison, gone in a 42 and 59 ritual. And it's funny because, again, Joe Madison was the one show I couldn't get through. The screener would never take my call. Would never take the call. Could have been life-saving for Joe Madison. Maybe he had drinks with the wrong person there right before Jackie Robinson's birthday. So, in light of Joe Madison's legacy, he's in the Guinness Book of Records for having the longest ongoing radio broadcast. It began February 25th, right? The 56th day of the year. Began on the 56th day of the year. Joe Madison did a show out of Washington, D.C. called The 56th City. Again, this is the short list. Remember how they repainted the 16th Street, Church Street? They repainted it with Black Lives Matter in 2020. They did it on June 5th. Date that can be written 5/6. Black Lives Matter, 56. Washington, D.C., 56. Society of Jesus, 56. Again, that's the Jesuits. Get to where that factors in with his death at 74. But again, for people who don't know, this nation began with 56 signers on the Declaration of Independence. The capital didn't start in D.C. It was moved there. That's where the Jesuits set up camp, who their formal title is the Society of Jesus. Notice when you run the alphabetic order in reverse with numerology, Urban View's 56. So on the Urban View program on the 56th day of the year, he began this record broadcast. And again, he might not have realized the ritual he was partaking in, but I'm sure the people who sent him the paycheck told him that that's what they wanted him to do starting on that day. And as for the death at 74 in the Society of Jesus, we talk about this one all the time. Again, there's a song out there called Gematria, the killing name. Notice how killing is 74, like Jesus, like cross, like Messiah, like parables, like gospel. Think about Jesus on the cross at age 33 because they announced his death on the 33rd day of the year, February 2nd. It was 74 days after Joe Biden's birthday. And, of course, Joe Biden was wingmans with Obama. Obama, who won the 56th U.S. presidential election. But he did die, or the news broke 74 days after Biden's birthday. And of course, we began bombing. By the way, just with regards to Black History Month and the rituals we're doing over with the darker complected people in the Middle East, the retaliatory attack for supposedly the 3 troops who were killed at Tower 22, 322, Cabala. Again, all of this comes from Cabala. The physical model for Cabala is the Tree of Life, which has 3 pillars and 22 paths. You think about the powerful secret society at Yale, Order 322. You think about how this war in Israel began right as Yale was turning 322 years old. Now we got 3 troops killed at Tower 22, escalating the war. But notice, all 3 of those troops were Black, and they waited until Black History Month, the 33rd day of the year, 74 days after Biden's birthday, to escalate the killing. But this is also the day that the Black Eagle is dead in the news. And again, at 74, killing, Jesus, cross, Messiah, parables, gospel. Remember, the only physical description of Jesus in the Bible is a man with dark skin and hair like wool. And let's not forget, it begins with the 42 generations to Jesus. But Jewish also 74. And again, the Old Testament's Jewish, right? And the oldest person in the Old Testament's Methuselah, who's Black. So again, in the end of the Bible, it talks about the synagogue of Satan, those who claim to be Jews but are not. But anyway, Masonic is also 74, and Masonry is based in the Old Testament, and it's known as Judaism for the Gentile. Masonry is based in Cabala, which is Jewish mysticism, where this whole letters and numbers things come from. Occult is 74, like energy, like English, like Gematria, or also pronounced Gematria. And again, there's the song out there, Gematria, the killing name. The word holiday is also 74, like how 3 of the first 5 presidents died on 7/4. And again, Jefferson and Adams died on the same day in 1826. And then Monroe died on 7/4, 1826 days later. But Jefferson and Adams were both worried about what would happen when the Jesuits came out of suppression. And again, the calendar we're on, the language we're speaking, we know it as we do because of the Jesuits and what took place in the 16th century. So, again, Joe Madison's history. Age 24, on the 42nd parallel in Detroit, he became the youngest leader of the NAACP. And again, Detroit's on the 42nd parallel. Joe Madison, 42. When you run the alphabetic order in reverse numerology, Madison alone is 42, like slavery, like Tuskegee, like Jackie, like Martin. And again, you think Martin Luther King Jr., not born with that name. Assume the name Martin Luther after the Protestant Reformation leader who wrote the 95 Theses. And then Martin Luther King Jr. assassinated on the 95th day of 1968. And then his assassin died 95 days from Martin Luther King Jr. Day. And this year, Martin Luther King Jr. would have turned 95. And then a week after what would have been his 95th birthday, his son is dead. But Malcolm X, also not the birth name. Another name given, 42. You can add to that list Muhammad Ali, not the birth name, but 42. So think about how perfect it was to make Joe Madison the man at age 24, like Jackie Robinson, number 42, lost a son at age 24 on the 42nd parallel in Detroit. And now to be dead at the start of 2024. And with regards to Martin, of course, that's the sitcom set in Detroit. And he lives in apartment 42 in the sitcom. These are the exact type of things I was talking about with the hosts on Urban View a decade ago, back when Joe Madison would not take the call. And again, just with regard to all this being biblical, the New Testament begins with the 42 generations to Jesus, New Testament 42, Math 42, Matthew, and the 42 generations to Jesus, how the New Testament begins. Martin better look out, Martin Lawrence, because he's going to turn 59 this year. And his birthday is the 106th day of the year. And as you know, if you run the alphabetic order in reverse, black is 106. Run it in reverse numerology, Black Lives Matters 106. We saw what they just did to the Rocky actor and also Hootie from Hootie and the Blowfish. Both of their rituals had a lot to do with 106. Tennessee's 106, like Apollo Creed. But yeah, Urban View. I think Urban View needs a flagship program that actually helps put real knowledge in the minds of its black listenership and understand what's really taking place in this world and what's been taking place and what needs to change. And it's not voting. That's all Joe Madison ever had. More people need to vote. More people need to vote. No, they don't. Everyone needs to stop voting in the rigged elections. Your local elections, you can vote in those. These federal elections, they're totally rigged. It doesn't matter how many people go out and vote, it's going to be rigged. Just like we told you in 2020, it was a lock. Joe Biden was going to become number 46 in the election 46 weeks after the Pope's birthday because he sacrificed his son at age 46. Like Catholic equals 46, like Genesis 46 is about sacrifice, and sacrifice equals 46. Goes with JFK being killed at age 46. These are the things people need to know, not false ideas about going out and voting. Sorry, that's not going to do anything. It's going to do absolutely nothing. You're just going to validate the lie. Joe Madison did a disservice to his community by just telling them all they need to do is vote, vote, vote. Nope, nope, nope. You need to revolt. Thomas Jefferson, one of those presidents who was worried about the Jesuits who got 86'd on 7-4. He said there had to be a revolution every 19 years. And again, there's a reason he said every 19 years. It's because the moon's on a 19-year cycle, and the Cabal, who operates by this Kabbalistic code, also goes by the moon. It's why all their holidays are synced up with the moon. And it's why COVID-19 came 19 years after 9/11 and the 19 hijackers, which came 19 years after the assassination, or excuse me, almost skipped a 19. You know, the 19 that came before 9/11 and the 19 hijackers, it was the one that maybe Joe Madison did his best work on. 19 years before that was the war on drugs. That's when it was declared. So again, war on drugs, 19 years later, war on terror, 19 years later, war on germs. All of those wars were actually wars on the American people and rights and liberties, and using excuses to, again, incarcerate certain people, modern day slavery. They say Joe Madison was a conspiracy theorist because he said the CIA helped fill up black communities with crack cocaine. That's not a conspiracy theory. That's a fact. The government did. You don't just have to say the CIA. Let's not forget the CIA was created in a big Jesuit ritual. The CIA was created in a big 201 Jesuit ritual, which all of Joe Madison's audience should know about 201 and the Jesuits. People are probably watching Griselda right now on Netflix, not realizing the joke of her being assassinated 201 days after her birthday. All these little puppet, CIA pawns that are supposedly the drug lords, that's all BS. That's all part of the show. But yeah, people should know about why every 19 years. 19 years before on the war on drugs was the war on courage, which was the bullet through JFK's head. 19 years before that was the year we deployed the most troops to World War II. Again, cycles of 19. There's a reason for all these things. And Jefferson was dropping clues back then. There's a reason he said there needed to be a revolution every 19 years to preserve rights and liberties. We haven't had a revolution for hundreds of years. That's how things have gotten as bad as they are. So, yeah, and honestly, also just about Urban View. Urban View and BET aren't doing anything to help out black communities. Just having all black networks, that promotes racism. And for anyone who can't wrap their mind around that, you're wrong. I mean, it's not even hard to see through. It promotes the idea that only black people can do anything for black people. And I get annoyed also when people die and then everyone comes out and talks about how great they were. Was Joe Madison really that great? Wasn't he very rude to all of his callers? I mean, it was very rare that he wasn't super rude to a caller. And he had to get everybody into just yes or no, yes or no. That's a divisive way of communicating. All he wants to hear is yes or no from you. It's like, let people call in and say something more than just yes or no. But yeah, Joe Madison, Mr. Get Out. We got to get out and vote more. Nope. Sorry, the Cabal runs your nation. Voting's not going to do anything about that. The only solution to what this nation is people need to learn what to stop supporting, stop participating in, and what they need to revolt against, which is absolutely their federal government, right, where Joe Madison broadcasts from. So, yeah, I find it ironic that Joe Madison's gone at 74, announced during Black History Month, when he was Mr. 59 and 42. And I knew this back then, too. That's one of the reasons they probably wouldn't let me on, because I was telling the screener, I said, I want to teach you guys about this history of 59 and 42, from Rodney King to Rosa Parks' death to Black History Month. Oh, I can't believe the 42 I forgot to put up here. Again, if you're new here, there are 4 base ciphers. Show you something about Rosa Parks real quick and her passing. She was from Tuskegee. You see how February, take the alphabetic order in numerology, February is 42, right? 42, 59. These just numbers all over Black history. The key digits in 59 are 5 and 9. 5 is 42, 9 is 42. But just so many different ways. The word bus, like Black history on the bus is 42. Let me pull up Rosa Parks here real quick. Rosa Parks died in Detroit on the 42nd parallel and was born in Tuskegee. And right, we were just talking about Tuskegee from the experiment. 201 men, if you want to look that up. 201 men in the control group in the Tuskegee experiment. 201 is the number of the Jesuits. That's why the first Jesuit pope's the first to live in suite 201, and on and on and on. But Tuskegee 42, in that same cipher, Jesuits 42 and Georgetown's 42. And you might recall Georgetown put out $100,000 in reparations payments a few years ago. And they said, you know, it was a small thing to give back based. They even put out the story about how many hundreds of millions the value of the slavery was. So they gave you back 100,000. But anyway, Rosa Parks, look at the day she died. October 24th. 24 again, right? 24, the reflection of 42, just like Madison. But 10/24/2005, the date numerology for that, 10 plus 24 is 34, plus 20 is 54, plus 05 is 59. That's one of the past. So she died on a 59 date. Look at what day Rosa Parks was born. February 4th. Date that we written 2442 in February, Black History Month. And then she goes down with the history of, you know, the one who fought for rights on the bus. That P. Diddy video, what is it? Faith Evans and Carl Thomas. They're like singing to the Dr. Dre foam tap beat. Right at the beginning of the music video, they have to have a bus drive by with the number 42 on it. Just got to put it in there. Talk about all the deaths on Bad Boy Records by the numbers. But yeah, this, as soon as I saw he passed, I thought, man, Joe Madison was the one host who would not let me on. I called in multiple times. Screener never let me on the show. So, and it just makes you wonder who his screener was, because the other screeners for the other programs let me on. Probably knew something more since it was the big show. Can only let so much get out to the audience. Got to keep them thinking all that matters is voting. Yeah, I think we hit all the main points. And hey, for anyone out there who listens to Urban View, for anyone who likes this broadcast and thinks maybe it is time for the first white host on Urban View. See, I'm on Truth Frequency Radio, but my radio network's falling apart. I need a better platform with more viewership. Urban View has a phone number. If anyone wants to call into the Urban View host, they're looking for who's going to fill the shoe of Joe Madison. Tell them Zachary K. Hubbard will. Say, bring on Zachary K. Hubbard. We need to get out the knowledge of Gematria and how it's being used every single day against the American people, how people are being murdered by it. Here, you know what day Rodney King's birthday is, right? Rodney King, 5'9", right? Rodney King's a 59. They said he drowned, right? Stereotype. But what was Rodney King's date of birth? April 2nd, 4/2. 59, 42, all throughout history. All throughout history. And as for them beating Rodney King on March 3rd, Race Wars 33, you might recall after the George Floyd killing by the numbers, the rioting started on 33rd Street. They had to let you know that. It was the LAPD that beat Rodney King. LAPD's 33 like police. They did put out, again, they broke the news about Joe Madison's birthday on the 33rd day of the year. He broadcast from the Federal City. Federal's 33. It's also known as the Masonic City. Masonry's 33, like secrecy, like order, fraternal order of police. It's probable that Joe Madison was a Mason. A lot of black men are in Masonry. And again, it doesn't make you a bad person if you're in Masonry. It's just, again, Masonry is based in Cabala. Modern Freemasonry is a Jesuit creation. This whole thing of letters and numbers comes from Cabala. It's how it all fits together. Yeah, it's too bad. It's too bad. A decade ago could have reached a lot more people if we could have got on the air with Joe Madison. I should have kept calling back. The mistake I made was stop trying to get on. But yeah, if anybody wants to phone into Urban View, you know, I think if everybody was calling Urban View all day about, you guys need to talk about Gematria and get Zachary K. Hubbard on to talk about Joe Madison's death, might actually get on there. We might actually reach millions of more people. And what I know from when we go out and speak in communities is, you know, it never fails. You go out and speak on the streets of America, who are the most receptive people to the knowledge, without fail every single time, Black Americans. Every single time. So, Urban View, 866-801-8255. Again, they broadcast 24/7, but some of the shows are reruns. So you want to make sure you're calling into a live show. But yeah, wouldn't that be nice? Wouldn't that be nice if we could become the first white host on Urban View? I think we would boost the ratings from beyond what Joe Madison had. I can't. He was the flagship program, but never even the best show on the network. He had the biggest name recognition. But he was the guy. People probably like listening to him because he was rude to his callers. People like that. They like the drama. They like the meanness. It makes them laugh. But it wasn't really helping anything at the end of the day. I heard one of the people say in defense of him, they said, oh, he did that because he just wanted to push the callers. He wanted to provoke them to do more. Okay, I sort of get that. But at the end of the day, Joe Madison should have done better research. Found out that voting was sold out a long time ago. Hasn't mattered for even in his lifetime. It's been rigged the whole time. So, again, ignorance isn't bliss. And at the end of the day, I'd say Joe Madison's message to his audience was ignorance. And not let me on. That was ignorance too. Because now look, if you think this is a coincidence, you're a special kind of stupid. And that's the real problem. There's a lot of special kind of stupid in this country. So, shout out to RPM Trey Vietnam. Again, if you guys have not subscribed, my shirts came in the mail yesterday, and I'll be wearing a lot of RPM Trey Vietnam. Trey, send me a text message and let me know what the bill was for this. Like I said, I'm sending a big tip too. But we got all the gear here. We got a hoodie. I got to be careful, though, so I don't spill my coffee on it. So we got the RPM Trey hoodie. Again, you guys, he's got lots of merch. He is someone definitely worth supporting in the community. His message is important. If we get on Urban View, he'll be my first guest speaker. Hug an AR owner. This is the RPM Trey campaign right here. Hug an AR owner. Brilliant campaign. And we got it in multiple colors. Thanks, Trey. Trey sent me a very generous shipment of shirts. I didn't expect this many, but I got a new wardrobe, so we'll probably be in RPM Trey gear every day. How many did he send me? Personally, I think the shirt to get is the Hug an AR owner campaign. And then if you can open carry in your state, you can emulate exactly what Trey does. You can be out there on the corner talking about gun rights and knowledge. Sometimes Trey's even out there doing Gematria lessons. So all of these look very nice. Material feels good. And just make sure when you get shirts like this, though, when you wash them, you put them inside out before you wash. That way the logo will last forever. So Trey's got me a brand new wardrobe. Man. Yeah, how come Joe Madison never had RPM Trey on? All he had time for was to tell his audience to go out and vote some more. We just haven't voted enough yet. Oh, man. Oh, by the way, this shirt right here shows you what RPM stands for. Resist political manipulation. So truly that flies in the face of what Madison's show was about, because he was all about politics. So. Thanks again, Trey. Be sure to send me that text message. And by the way, just with regards to the NAACP, again, it's an organization to stop supporting. Like, everyone should defund the NAACP. It's not here for anybody other than its own political motivations. Look at this. How do you give Benjamin Crump any kind of award? This guy's a total fraud. He goes out and furthers every racial divide, and then he's winning the Social Justice Impact Award. And look at how it was from his October 10th birthday, and he won it on the 56th day of the year, right? The same day that Joe Madison's record radio broadcast began. But notice the year that Crump won it, it was his 139th day of his age. And what's Benjamin Crump equal in Gematria? 139 and 58, just like Freemasonry. Just like how he participates in all the rituals by the numbers. Again, helps push the race divide, the agendas in the media. And then, so you can just see what the NAACP is. Who's the woman? I got to go back and look at my older post of the woman who from the NAACP who just recently died by the numbers. Not even that old. So yeah, if you guys want to call Urban View, I think Urban View. You guys want to help support the work. You don't donate to the work. Maybe you can make phone calls to Urban View. They do. You can get on the show on Urban View. I was able to get on several of their programs years ago. I just couldn't get on Joe Madison's show. But, yeah. Tell them you want the first white host on the network, Zachary K. Hubbard, because he sticks up for black people and puts out real knowledge that actually helps advance a lot of things. So, yeah, one of the first things I locked into with this research was the 5942 code. And that's exactly what I called into all the programs about and shared about. And I didn't get ridiculed by any of the hosts. It's just Joe Madison's screener would never let me on. So. All right, we'll leave it there. RPM Trey Vietnam, again, please give him a sub. Please support what he's doing. Again, he's out advocating for rights and liberties and trying to put logical thoughts in people's heads. Because there's a lot of illogical people out there at this day and age. Open up. Open up's always on it. He's always resharing the work. I appreciate that. Sadly, it feels like there's only a few open ups in the world right now. And I'm like, why is that? Why is there only a few people that can do these simple things to help us out? You guys want to help get out the word and change the world? It's going to take a lot of people, getting behind what we're doing here and pushing. I think I'll spend all Monday. Maybe we'll do a record broadcast on Monday. We'll be calling all the Urban View shows all day. Okay. Well, plenty of the clothes you have are just fine for kids right now as they are. So, we'll leave it there for now, True Seeker. Thanks again to everyone who hits the like and the share. And until next time.